Alright, welcome back. This is our episode 2 of Tips for New Players Leveling Series. Have not caught a single fish since our last episode, so we are literally picking up at the exact same spot. And remember, I am doing this sort of incognito. We'll be releasing this series in about a week and a half. Hopefully by then we'll have 3 or 4 episodes to release over the course of a week where I'm going to be out of town. So it's really just a way for me to try to have some content popping up while I'm gone. So let's just do some fishing over here. The one thing I did do is I went and claimed the free spinning. Wow, look at how bad that cast was. It went straight off to the right. I got the free spinning gear from the pond, which gave us this old spinning rod. Which, this is absolutely terrible. But it came with this spinning reel on there, which this is in really bad shape, but it says it gets up to 4.5 strength, although it's only a 2000 size. So I thought we would try it. I just want to kind of see what it feels like on our Sorrento, see if it works at all. So we're feeder fishing over here. We'll also put our... Oh. The reel is like so busted. Ooh. That is brutal. Okay. Change of plans. Let's go look at something real quick. I'm just curious. How much does it cost to repair this piece of junk? Now, I mean, we're not going to ever change the fact that it's a 2000 spool, 2000 series spinning reel, which means it's small. We can't fit that much line on there. But if we could... Ooh. It's way too much silver. Yeah, it would never be worth 84 silver to repair that, because look, it's got 4.5 strength, but for 84 silver, you can purchase... You almost can afford a brand new Lacerti. And you certainly could get, you know, more than 2 of these. So, yeah, it's not worth repairing. Probably not worth using, although we could use it in a pinch if we can't afford the next reel. Although the lowest garbage reel is only like, what, 8 silver or something, so... Alright, so my whole goal for this second episode is really just to chill and fish. I am going to try to talk somewhat about some frequently asked questions. I came up with like 8 of them. What size hook are we using? I guess we could do 14. See how that goes. I'm like, why are we catching such small fish? We might catch small fish anyway, but hopefully this will give us a little better chance. Okay, so let's also get this rod out. We'll use bread here as well. Are we at about 60? Let's see if 60 works here. It should. Okay, we'll just try to catch some fish. All right. So the first question I listed that I have seen new players ask is, how do I set up my fishing rig? Which we'll come back to that, because hopefully if we have some decent fishing here, hopefully we're going to be able to purchase another rig, and I'll be able to show you again. I showed you in the last episode, but I want to make sure we come back to that as much as possible. It is really sad when new players to the game, don't get the help or resources to see how to do it properly, and then end up breaking their early gear, which ends up causing them to lose silver and kind of slows their ability. Holy cow, that clip is way too far. Maybe it's not clipped at all, actually. Let's bring that way in. Hold on. Hold on. Is it stuck? No. Alright, we got it. Be careful with that. If you get stuck on what feels like a snag at the bottom, sometimes you can get off of it like we did there, but sometimes you can't, so. Alright. We actually want to clip this at like 9 at the most. And I do realize we have a bite on our float here. Oops. What do you know? We actually caught the fish. Alright. Alright. I know I was about to talk about something, but I don't remember what yet. Oh, new players that break their stuff. Yeah, we definitely don't want that to happen. So I'll try to show you how to set it up properly, and then that won't happen to you. Well, if nothing else, we're leveling up our float fishing. And you never know, some of these tiny fish that aren't markers, they might be good for a cafe order or something. All right, let's see. Hopefully this will be a marker. Nope. It's crazy how without any points in any skill points put in, we're just casting all over the place. So I think the first, and this is, this might seem a little weird to you, and maybe it is a little weird, but I think the first 3 points I'm going to put in is ground bait, because I want to put these in and then not have to worry about it. We're going to be using ground bait so much that I want to have some high quality ground bait as we make it. So I'm going to put 3 points in there. My other point, I'm going to start filling in fishing with a feeder rod. So those are where my first 4 points are going to go. Now, I'm not saying that's for everybody. There's a lot of ways to put skill points around, and some of it is very much dependent on what type of fishing you're going to be doing. But for me, I think that's a pretty good start to where I want to see the skill points. Another random question I hear new players ask a lot is, when can I start carp fishing? And by that, they don't mean fishing for little gibble carp and crucian carp. What they're talking about is what they see some of the higher level players doing at Bear and Amber, even at Old Berg. And that's going for the big carp. And the quick answer to that is you need to be much higher level. You need to be much higher level to start thinking about carp fishing, because the carp are really big, and so the gear that you're going to have to use to fish for them is gear that you're going to have to save for a long time to be able to afford. There's a crucian. All right, so far we're not catching very many markers. Hopefully we're going to be able to change that soon. Wait, is there a fish on? No. Now, the second part of the answer for that question is, some people, when they're asking that, they're also asking how or when can I use boilies. And what I talked about last episode is, remember, you can't use boilies until you open up Classic Hair Rig. So even if you did have gear to go for carp, you still wouldn't be able to use the boilies to target carp until then. But with low-level gear, you wouldn't want to be able to target carp if your gear is not strong enough to actually be able to pull most carp in. Now, there is sort of a transitional period when you have your gear, if your gear is as strong as, let's say, Saber 60 or Proton Pro, which is around 10 kilograms of strength of load capacity. When your gear gets to that point, you might be able to start using potatoes and in very safe situations, try to catch carp like at Old Berg. But you're not going to really want to go after carp till you at least have gear that is as strong as the Alpha 8000s or similar gear to that. And that will be quite a while till you have saved up enough to purchase that level of gear. But don't worry, there's a lot of other very exciting and fun fishing you can do even before you can target the carp. Alright, another question I hear a lot of new players asking is a variety of questions around which bait or lure should I use to target this, or to go for this, or at this spot. Usually that's tied to they're wanting to fish at a certain place and get a certain type of fish, or they're trying to fill a cafe order and so they're wanting to know what's the best way for me to catch this specific type of fish. And first of all, the way the system works in this game is that does change over time. So I might tell you that right now, in this spot, you can catch the biggest crucian and gibbles overnight if you use semolina. And that may be true right now. But a month from now, or 3 months from now even, or maybe even a week from now, but usually it's a process of changing, but semolina might not work at all here. Or even at this whole lake. So fish changes and preferences do change. I think it's supposed to, the idea to a degree is it's supposed to simulate seasonal changes or whatnot, but you will see changes in the preferences of different baits and stuff. So the best tip I can give you, or the best tips I can give you for trying to find any kind of information about fishing spots, but especially for fishing, like which bait or which lure should I use for a certain fish, is to check the weekly records. That's going to give you a picture of the most up-to-date information. So let me show you how I'm doing this. I'm hitting escape, I'm going to records and ratings, and I'm clicking on weekly. Now you can also click by region, so we can look at all regions, or I could just look at like USA, for example. And let's say I'm really wanting to catch a nice crucian carp here at Mosquito. Well, if I go to the top crucian carp that have been caught this week in the USA region, 3 of them were caught at Mosquito. 2 of them were caught on semolina, and 1 of them on worms. So if I'm trying to find out the best bait to use to try to catch a really big crucian, by using that weekly list, which, by the way, you can also look at overall. See, I clicked on weekly to do that. But if you keep on the lake records, or certainly the absolute records, that's going to show you not just this week what's working, but what has worked the best ever. So like some of these are back in 2019. The best crucians were caught on boilies and all kinds of stuff. But it's more important to get a more recent snapshot of what's working. Holy cow. It's a nice roach. All right, let's try to catch one more fish here on the feeder in this spot, and then let's go try to find some rough. And obviously it is slowing down float fishing. I mean, float fishing at night, at least here, is probably not going to be great. We're going to get more done feeder fishing, which is why I want to get my second feeder rod as soon as I can. Okay, so Another question people often ask is what size hook should I use, again, for a particular fish or a particular situation. And another nice roach. We're doing pretty good here, except we're doing good on roach, which is interesting. I keep expecting a big crucian or gibble to come out of the water, and at least right now we're mostly catching roach. Although it is getting late, we should switch from bread to worms or maggots. But so there's two things about hook sizes, and obviously I'm trying to give like general ideas about how to answer some of these questions. But first of all, I would say it is true that the larger the fish you want, the larger the hook size you want to use. So I might use a size 16 hook and catch crucian carp and gibble carp on that size 16 hook. But if I'm trying to catch a trophy crucian or a trophy gibble, so I want to catch as big a one as possible, we're going to switch to worms. Just one cast here, see what happens. I might go all the way up to like a size 10 hook, or even sometimes size 6. Now that's a really big hook for a crucian or a gibble, but I'm just saying that you can move towards bigger hook sizes to try to catch bigger fish. Now it might slow your bite rate down, so that's where knowing like what baits are really hot becomes important. But if you use semolina and use like a size 8 hook, and you're in a really good spot for crucian gibble, you're likely going to get some really nice crucian gibbles out of that situation. But the other thing you need to think about is, does the hook size match not only the fish you're going for, but also the bait you're using? So if you're using a really small bait, you don't really want to put that on a huge hook. Or if you're using really, really big bait, you don't really want to put it on a small bait. So you the first thing that I would say is try to match the hook to the fish. Secondarily match the hook to the bait. But you'll get a sense as you play it and hear from other people the different like ideal hook sizes for different fish. Pretty early on, bream end up being a really good money and XP fish, especially money. I mean, it's really the reason why you fish bream is you're trying to earn silver, save up for gear. Plus, it's just fun. But for bream, to me, the ideal hook size is about 8. And that's a bigger hook than what we're using for the most part at Mosquito. A lot of times at Mosquito, we're using like 12, 14. For some of the smaller fish, even like down to 20 or so. But once you get to the point where you can go after bream, you might go to 8. Tench, you might go to like 6, maybe even 4, sort of another step up. And then all the way up to like carp, usually I use 1s, which is as large as you can get before it switches over going the other direction, because what's larger than a 1, then it goes to 1-0, 1/0. Or 2-0, then that's even bigger. 3-0 is even bigger. 4-0 is even bigger. So it starts with the higher number being smaller. So like a 24 hook is the smallest hook in the game, all the way up to 1, and then it switches over and goes 1/0 up to 4/0 being the largest hook in the game. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I tell people about hook sizes is it depends on the size of the fish and the size of the fish you're trying to catch, and then also what bait you're using. But you'll get a feel for it as you fish for different fish. You'll start to see patterns of like, okay, so bream, it sounds like 6 to 10 is what most people are using. And so on and so on. There's a lot of different species in the game, so that does take some time to sort of get used to it. Okay. So we're not catching anything. Let's go ahead and switch over to see if we can't find a rough or two. I don't know what, if anything, we're going to do with our feeder or float rod, I mean. So we're over here at camp now. Let's go as small as hook as we can. Let's put worms on. We'll still use the ground bait, and let's go to clip about 14. I don't know how well this is working right now. It has worked in the past, although recently it started to feel like eyed and other weird stuff were taking over this spot. But let's see if we can catch any rough or white bream here. And again, I don't know what to do with this. Let's go. I wish we had another small hook. I would try it, but we don't. Let's go as deep as we can with this rod. Well, we probably don't want to go deeper than 2 meters, right? Let's see if that even hits the bottom. Probably not. Okay, so let's see. About 175. Let me get a better cast out here. Alright, so there we go. I don't know that we're going to catch anything on that, but let's just see. This game really does start out slow, especially if you're feeder fishing, because it's like the game is tuned for you to be able to have 3 feeders out at the same time. So to start out only having 1 is pretty rough. Especially at night, I feel like, because during the day we can float fish and we'll still catch a few things. Huh. What is this? Ooh, I like it. I like it. That's what we're trying to catch on our feeder rod. To get one on float here, that's pretty cool. I've not had a lot of success doing that in the past. Nothing yet on this. All my lines in the way. I can't see. Oh, it didn't quite go. All right, hold on. There we go. All right, there we go. So like I mentioned last time, this game does have a premium model. It's a free-to-play game with a premium model, much like an MMO. And sometimes people ask, should I go premium, or what are the benefits to premium? Obviously, if you want to support the developer by going premium from the very beginning, you're certainly able to do that, and that's great. But if you are trying to figure out when is the best time, or when do I need to go premium, when will I feel like the benefit of premium is actually significant, I would say it's not going to be until you at least hit level 20. Because what premium does is it does help you level a little faster, but at low levels you don't need to level any faster. What you're trying to do is earn more silver, not level faster, and premium doesn't help you earn more silver. So once you get in your 20s though, and you start to get your skills leveled up, let's say to 50% or whatever, premium does help you get skills leveled faster. And at that point, you'll notice a difference in premium versus being free to play and how long it takes to grind out getting skill points. Again, early on, you get skill points almost every time you do something. But later, it can take a lot longer. And premium gives you, not only as like always giving you a better chance of leveling up skills, it also gives you an hour of happy hour every day. And during that happy hour, you have an even higher chance of leveling up, both in terms of experience you get as well as your chance of getting skill ups. What else does premium do? Premium also allows you to send stuff in the mail. So if you want to, I didn't mean to pick that up. If you want to be able to send things to other players, you have to have premium to do that. That was silly of me to do that. And as soon as I started, I knew I shouldn't. We'll see if we do max cast. I'm not sure how well max cast works on a telescopic rod because sometimes it bounces back. Yeah, that did pretty good. So those are the main benefits of premium. Yeah, like I said, you really just don't feel it till you get higher level. A lot of people play this game all the way leveling up with just free to play though. So don't feel like you... I'm telling you guys, Ide are taking over our little rough spot. That is so weird. If we catch too big of an Ide here, it's totally going to bust our gear. Oh, we do have a fish on the feeder though. Hopefully this is a rough. We caught a white bream last fish here, which was fine, but it is a rough, but it's too small. At least uh-oh. Alright. This is weird. This doesn't happen very often, but I am stuck. Now, I think... Oh, shoot. Okay. I think what I can do is if I pull this rod in and then pick up the other rod, which has a fish on it, by the way. Come on. Yep. That should have unstuck me. Yeah, it did. Okay. So I had like stepped out into the water there, and for some reason my fisherman got stuck. Let's try not to do that again. Well, I am really amazed and pleasantly surprised that we were actually able to catch a couple of fish on our float rod in the overnight hours. We're not making much silver. That's okay. We're just chilling, remember? This isn't the fun and efficient leveling guide. This is just tips for new players, chill leveling guide. Let's go ahead and pick this up. Did I screw up the bite? It's hard when you're trying to fish this far away on the telescopic rod. Alright, we got it. Is it another rough? Nice. Man, float fishing coming through for us. Who knew? I think on my main account, I'm gonna get one of those free Russian spinning reels, and then pay to have it repaired and see how decent it feels. See if it actually feels like a decent reel. I mean, it's almost equivalent to a Lacerti, not quite, but it's an interesting little reel. We should like put it where our float's not quite as deep so that we can fish with it not needing to be as far out over the shelf. We might still see a bite, like a float might still get taken down if it gets, you know, drug enough, but it's not ideal. Let's see if we have a fish on here. Maybe it'll be another rough. Okay. See if we can get one more rough before we go fish for something else for a little bit. Maybe I should just hold this. I'll try doing it that way. Ooh. Come on, be a rough. Yeah, but we really want it to be like 40 grams or more for the current cafe order, I think. Man, they're biting great on these floats, on this float rod. Almost makes you want to buy a little bit nicer telescopic rod so we could actually fish for them here. That's a perch. I don't want to talk about perch right now. I've been trying to catch a trophy perch at Mosquito on my main account for the last few days off and on, and it has been painful. Painful. The eyed have taken over, folks. So that tore our line. We lost our float. That'll set us back a little bit. All right, let's move spots. We can put a little bit larger hook on this one now. Go with 14 and bread. And yeah, it's the eyed. I don't know how to avoid those eyed there. I think we got to find a different rough spot because those eyed are just going to bite. They were doing that on my main account too. When I was fishing for perch, I was trying to catch rough overnight to use as bait fish. All right, let's just put that there while we're figuring out. We need to replace that float. We might need to replace that hook if we want like a... Alright, regular floats. We'll just go cheap here for now. And I don't want to get the crappiest hooks. Like as soon as possible, you want to start getting into a little bit nicer hooks. But I also we gotta save as aggressively as we can. Let's get a 12 in the red ones. And then let's go try a different spot. I was hoping we might catch a fish while we were waiting. If we had waited a little longer, we would have. It was almost on there when I pulled it. Alright. I don't know if this spot over here is still working. But there was a nice little place here. So 55, 45. Of course, if you have semolina, this place was just killer good. But even with bread, it should be pretty decent. So let's test that theory. also should have bought like a 16 hook. Let's just try this. Let's go to 50 depth, and we'll just fish right here for a minute. And I think what I want to do is move the 12 hook onto the feeder. And then I think the feeder has like a 14 on it. We can put that on the float maybe. Notice I'm waiting till the fish is all the way on there before we don't want friction break that high. Okay, there's our first crucian here. Oh wait, let's change the hook size. Let's see if we can grab this fish really quick. There we go. A Chinese sleeper, I like it. Alright, we may increase that hook size too, but let's put that back in for now. Alright, so we have a 14. Let's go 12 with bread. We want to see if we can get to a little higher percentage of marker, crucian, and gibbles over here. That's the goal. Now, if this ends up being a little Chinese sleeper farm, that is pretty cool. I'm going to keep the same size hook on for now. This will not last super long. The sleepers tend to only bite like sometimes at night and sometimes in the mornings, but during the middle of the day, we're probably not going to catch a bunch of Chinese sleepers. But if they're biting, I'm fine with that. They're easy. They're small fish, so we can handle them on our little float rod, and you know, they're decent. They add up in terms of like a little bit of silver here and there. Sometimes there are cafe orders for them. There's a crucian. If we stop getting sleepers, then I might go a little bit larger hook size, but we want to be careful because we don't want to keep snapping our line too often. That does cut into our silver, obviously. Let's get one more fish on our float, and let's go look at the cafe for those rough, just to see where we're at. That is such a quick bite on float. It's unusual and really nice. Alright, is that fish on? So for feeder fishing, obviously the bells tell you you're getting a nibble, but you really need to watch the line. If the fish is on, typically you'll see that line start moving. You don't want to pick it up too quick because you'll interrupt the bite and lose the fish. Alright, now the fish is on. This is going to be a crucian or a gibble. I'm almost sure of it on my float because it's nibbling so much. There we go. Now we're getting into the markers, which is good. Wasn't the best cast, but yeah, I was trying to be patient on this one more fish on the float before we go look at the cafe, but it is a slow nibble. There we go. It came off. Alright, let's go look. I don't really want to leave the float in the water because bad things can happen. The bottom feeder will keep the fish on most likely till we get back. So we should be good. But let's just check the cafe. I think there was a rough order. I just don't know that we got enough to fill it. I'm guessing we're 1 or 2 short. Yeah, we're 2 short. But that would be 32 silver. That's really nice. We also could try to catch the white bream order. We already have this. So let's go ahead and claim that before it goes away. So that's 3 silver for 2 non-marker gibbles. It's really easy. No crucian or gibble orders, so that's unfortunate. So we're at 16 silver. And we'll just have to keep, every time we have a episode and when it gets to be nighttime, we'll just have to keep playing around, seeing if we can't find a more reliable rough place. How are we doing on fish quality here? That's small. Chub. So we're definitely grinding it out right now, trying to get another feeder rod set up. Okay, so let's go 14 hook. Actually, let's go 16. Nah. That rusty hook will just be bad news. Alright, so we need to make more bread. Once we get a second feeder line out, we'll be in a pretty okay spot because we can float fish for our third rod. I mean, we do want 3 feeders, but at least we're doing okay once we have 2. I feel like that's kind of a big deal, getting that second feeder rod set up. But the other thing you want to be doing even early on is just thinking about, how do I level my harvesting baits? I mean, yeah, we can make bread for a while and that'll help, but we're going to have to get a shovel so we can start digging for worms to get some, to really start trying to level it aggressively, and then we'll make some potatoes, and then we'll be making pearl barley before you know it. So this is pretty nice. We're catching decent little roach. Not having to wait real long. I don't know what's going on with our feeder. That took a while for that bite. I guess it is getting a little later in the morning. The fish is definitely on the feeder, but I don't want to miss this float fish if possible, so I'm going to give it a second. Okay. So this spot still seems okay. It's hard to compare it because I've never, in the past, when fairly recently when I fished this spot, I had semolina, and of course it was killing it here with semolina. It may not be as good without semolina though. Holy cow, what is this? Uh-oh. About to snap our stuff again, I think. Oh my goodness, we lucked out. Is that a little chub or something? Yeah, we got really lucky there. It's an aggressive chub. To be going on bread like that? I don't know. I'm already trying to think of where it might be better to go for rough for next time. These really are crappy little telescopic rods in terms of the load capacity and everything. We just cannot catch very dangerous fish on here. It's very strange how well we're doing on float fishing in terms of bite rate compared to how it normally feels. It's pretty good right now. That's the type of float fishing I'm used to. It taken forever. Do we have a fish on? Nah. I have a feeling that spot across the way is going to be better than, at least for feeder fishing. You know, there's something I'm kind of wanting to try. I'm going back and forth in my head if it's worth doing or not. The crucian gibbles, at least in the spots we've tried, just haven't seemed that strong. I'm wondering if we, like, target the roach right now. They are out of stock here. Another question people ask is, why are stuff out of stock? And until you get to the level in where you can go to Volkhov River, you're going to deal with certain things being out of stock at different places. They do occasionally restock, but it's not on like a strict schedule or anything, so it's really kind of random. And it's often takes a long time for the restocks to happen, so it's not something you can really depend on or wait for. And so it's just sort of one of the things you have to deal with as a low-level player. Some of the things you may see in the store that looks like it might be helpful to have, you may just not be able to use them. You may have to try other things. Caddisfly, I think, works pretty good for roach. But I'm not 100% sure on that. I know the mayfly has been recently. Casters also might be okay. Let's just go check winding. Remember, it's free to travel, so we could jump back and forth. Only thing we're losing is time. Let's see if they're in stock here. Okay, they are. Okay, we're going to spend almost all of our silver on this if we get it, though. Let's just try it. I mean, it's worth having. We'll have to look and see how much we make off of it, though. All right, ground crackers, bloodworm, caramel. Ground crackers, bloodworm, caramel. All right, so remember, in terms of the bait, remember it cost us $12.50, okay? That obviously cuts into our profit. 12 silver and a half to get those 30 baits. Now, I think we probably could have done what we're about to do with other baits that would have been cheaper and not cut into our profit, but I want to try it with these. I want to see how it works. It's a little risky, it's a little weird, but I want to try it. I guess we should make this ground bait, because if it fails, if I have enough silver to, I might go back and... Alright, it did not fail. Okay, so what we're going to be fishing with is roach mix for ground bait. 12 is the biggest hook we have. And mayfly larva. And we are going to try to catch some nice roach over here. I'm not going to use the mayfly larva on the float fishing, though. We're just going to do it on the feeder. And let me look at my friction brake, because if this works, we could catch some pretty nice roach. During the day, I think bread should be fine. Let's give it a try. Hope this works. We just blew 12 silver if this doesn't have pretty dang good results. Alright, so remember the last fish we caught, we got like a 7-minute gap. We caught that gibble. We kind of want to track what, if anything, we catch on those mayfly larvae to see if we make a profit off of 30 of them. Oh shoot. I got distracted. Somebody was leaving comments on one of my videos. I was trying to see which one it was. Alright, here we go. Oh crap. Yeah, if I just put it right back down, it might not mess with the bite. I'm just making all kinds of rookie mistakes here. Sorry about that, folks. Alright, this is float fishing. Okay. Alright, so we know there's roach in the water. Come on, mayfly. The idea behind the mayfly, what we're hoping, is that they may catch like 500 and bigger roach. Now, we don't have quite as big a hook as I would normally use to do that, but we also don't have that strong of a feeder rod or line, so I don't know how aggressive we can be. Normally I would put like an 8 hook, maybe even a 6 on there. At least a 10. But, yeah. We've not gotten another nibble yet. The other thing that we don't have that you would normally be using is a Fluorocarbon Leader. And as soon as we get a little bit of silver, we can probably afford, if they're in stock, at least 1 or 2 feeder leaders. We can't use leaders on float yet, but we can use them on feeder. And having that fluorocarbon may make a difference. Another roach. Alright, let's make sure that the fish is definitely on there before I pick it up. Okay, it is. Yeah, there we go. I think it's a decent one. Maybe not as decent as I was hoping, but it's okay. 382 gram. Okay, so first fish, 382 gram. Alright, let's just go ahead and actually do some math here. Let's assume that every one is 382 gram, which we're gonna hopefully have a better average than that, but I think there's already another fish on. Let's see how much a 382 gram, is it worth half a silver maybe? Might not be quite that much, I don't know. Oh, okay, 1.5 silver. So we'd only have to catch 6 of those to be in the profit. Right? Let me check on those leaders real quick. Feeder leaders, fluorocarbon, 2.3, so 3.2s are out of stock, and we do have to be level 8 to even use it. Is there another? Look at all these out of stock. We can check winding, but if they're out of stock like that at Mosquito, they might be that out of stock at winding too, but we can check. Even getting that 2.3 fluorocarbon leader might be worth it for some of the fishing we're going to be able to do, but like I said, we can't use it till we're level 8. Let's see if we've busted our line over here with letting this fish swim around for this long. I heard it get on there when we left. Alright. I'm going to say it is on there. And notice I'm keeping my friction brake really low, because if we happen to land a big roach, I don't want it to just snap before I have a chance to fight it. So that one's even bigger. So we invested 12 silver in the bait, and it's starting to look like we will come way out on top. But like I said, I think there may be cheaper baits that we could have still had really good success with. Sometimes peas will catch pretty decent roach sizes, and peas are probably 1/4 of what we paid for the mayfly larva. But I wanted to try this because the mayfly larva is what I use to target the trophy roach here at Mosquito. And so I knew it was working pretty good these days. This used to be this great Crucian gibble farm right here. And maybe it still is with the right bait, but I've seen a lot more roach activity here recently. like it. All right. So mayfly larva fish number 3. We'll see what this ends up being. Well, maybe it's a false alarm. You hear that? You hear the line being pulled? So we're slowly pushing our friction brake up, finding the spot in which we can stop the fish without breaking our line. Very nice. 593 grams. That's going to be an uptick in how much it's worth silver-wise.
Right now is the time for action. That's why USAA is giving payment relief options to eligible members, so they can pay for things like groceries before they worry about their insurance or credit card bills. Discover all the ways we're helping.
Trying to remember if I put the friction brake back down. Yeah, it's at 14. We're fine. Again, really nice size roach here. Maybe even as good as the last one. Ooh. 709 grams. This is where getting the right bait in the right spot can make a difference. And it's where being a part of like a community and being able to talk to other players and benefit from what other people are learning really does matter. Because when we get 2 feeders, you know, we can do the same thing with 2 feeders and really make some decent money off these roach. It will add up. Common roach isn't like normally what you first think of when you think of a good farm, but if you can get to a spot where you're catching, you know, a pretty good average weight of them for a low-level player, it's pretty decent silver. It does add up. Notice I'm still keeping that friction brake fairly low. So we've got 26 of this bait left. I bet we've already made as much as the bait cost with that 700 gram one mixed in. I bet we have. If we haven't, we're really close. But sometimes it's just fun to experiment with stuff like that. I hated to do it when I knew it was going to cost all of our silver, but because I had just done this recently on my main account, I knew it was a good chance it might work pretty well. So that's at least like 24 silver, I think, just in our top 8 fish. Do we have a fish on? We do. Another nice roach. Still nibbling at it. It is getting a little later. The roach will slow down eventually. Common roach aren't as much an overnight fish like some of the other species here. Like, we can definitely catch rough white bream, sometimes bream here. The crucian and gibbles, especially gibbles, it seemed like at night recently. We have a fish on our feeder now. We also have one on the float. See how there's all that slack in the line? It's because we have a fish on and it swam right towards the shore. Yeah, it's a nice roach. That is so fast. Holy cow. Put worms on. It's a sleeper. I love it. This is the best time of day for fishing. Right before it gets nighttime. I hate that I'm missing out on all this time hanging out with the people in my chat, but I do want this series to be a surprise. Remember, when this series pops up, it'll be like at least a week and a half old, so this it's not current to when you're seeing it. Heck, the new river could be out and I don't even know it yet. I'm going to be sad if it comes out while I'm gone, but such is life, right? Optimistically, I've already done 5 videos on the new river by the time this river comes out. What is this? I guess we'll find out. It's a roach. Okay. Do we have a fish on there yet? Yeah. Alright, it's 2,200. I think we can probably get one more before it starts to slow down too much. Now notice we're using roach ground bait. And it's probably pretty decent quality. 6 out of 10 because we put those points in ground bait. Speaking of points, we have 2 points available, so we're going to go ahead and put those in fishing with a feeder rod. So we've now got 3 out of 7, which will give us better casting and more control. Ooh. If we get a bite that fast, we'll put it back in one more time, I think. Although, we could go try to catch a couple more rough real quick. I think the fish might be on. It's just resting for a second. Maybe not. It's hard to tell. It's not swimming. It's just sitting there still if it is on. Whoa, crap. Okay. Let's see if we can't relatively quickly get a another rough or two. Alright, so 20 hook, worm, and we either don't want ground bait or we want crucian gibble ground bait. I guess we'll try crucian gibble. And we'll try it with low friction brake on our feeder at our spot, our old spot here. But I'm not putting that float back in there. We can try the float somewhere else. I wish I had another small hook. I need another small hook. We're going to need multiple more small hooks. But how much silver do I have? 0.88. I guess we go ahead and sell some of these roach. Alright, so let's see. This one, this one, this one, this one. We'll just skip one for fun. This one, this one. Those are worth basically the price of the bait. And we still have, what, 19 more bait of those mayfly larvae. So we're in good shape. We need some more small hooks. I'll get another 20 cheap one. We really, when we get to the point where we can spend a little bit more on hooks, we really want to get some 24s and 22s for rough. We'll really cut out most of the non-rough or white bream at that point. I think there's a fish on. It's tiny. Let's go like... Let's try 1 meter depth, but then let's just not cast too far out here. And see if we get any bites that close to the shore. Maybe we won't get any eyed that close. That's probably a white bream, not a rough, I'm guessing. No, it is a rough. That's a nice one. Whew. That is very nice. Yeah, those rough do not mind the Crucian Gibble ground bait. What have we got here? Oh, goodness. Look at that. That is beautiful off of float fishing. Wow. That really was a nice rough, especially for float. That might have been it, right? Weren't we too short? I think we got the rough order, which is going to be huge for us silver-wise. So before we wrap this video up, we'll see where we stand. See how close we are to purchasing our next feeder rod. Because next episode, I really want to be able to hit that roach farm again. I'm excited about that roach fishing. I don't know why it's so fun to me. It's maybe even more fun than Crucian Gibbles. Probably just because I've done Crucian Gibbles so much. To be able to focus on a leveling series more on roach fishing. I don't know why. It's just so fun. But I think if I can get a second feeder rod going for next episode, maybe what we'll do is put two baits, like try to catch those roach, but two baits against each other. Maybe we'll use the mayfly larva, and maybe we'll try different things like peas, caddisfly, or bark beetle larva work really good. Although in that spot, bark beetle larva seemed like they were pretty slow. But we might try those. With a smaller hook, it might catch a pretty decent amount. What is this, by the way? It's not really nibbling like a rough does. Yeah, this isn't a rough. This is a nice little fish, though. What is this? Is that a roach? No, it's a little eyed. See? The eyeds are taking over. Grab your children, hide your... I don't know. Just careful. Daggum eyeds. They have moved in. I've never seen eyeds move into a spot quite like they've moved into that spot here at Mosquito. It's strange. Let's see if I was right. Did we make it? Yes. All right, so this is a good example. 32 silver. Rough by weight. The top 5, they're all markers. 19 silver. So it's not double on this example, but the order only needs them to be above 40 grams. So if we kept fishing rough, we would get some other ones that, in fact, how long have I gone? An hour 20? That is really long. Those rough are worth 6. Let's try a little bit longer. But those big rough we call, those are worth 6 silver. If you can isolate those and not let those be a part of the cafe order, then that's really good. But we may not be able to do that. I really don't want to keep this going much longer, though. Perfect. I don't know why this low-level stuff is so fun to me. I mean, I do these because I like helping new players, but honestly, I just have so much fun. You know, with limited resources, limited gear, I'm trying to figure out the best way to make it all work. Ugh. Can't tell if there's a fish on the feeder or not. Sometimes the little rough will not, they will not set this little rod off. Please don't be an eyed. Really what we need is to find a rough bait that eyed won't bite. Will rough go on bloodworm? I'm trying to remember. I know that the eyed in this spot have been biting worm and red worm, which are my usual go-to baits for rough. I've got to try this. It's just been sitting there. Yeah, it's nothing. I bet these eyed are causing new players all kinds of trouble. It's pretty common, I think, for new players to fish in this area with worms at night. I'm not getting anything on maggots. What about the bloodworms? Mosquito rough. Night crawlers. Yeah, we're not going to worry about night crawlers though. Weekly rough. Oblique. One thing we can look at is other regions though for mosquito, like, okay, maggots and bloodworms. And both of those are 2020. Okay, that gives me hope. What if we put bloodworms on and maggots on feeders and tried to catch rough that way? At least on the float, it seems really slow. Both maggots and bloodworms. Although the feeder's not doing much either, is it? Since we've got a safer bait, we could have gone a little deeper again. What were you at, 175? Get this thing a cast out here. Try that. I don't think this is a rough. It's a little white bream. Okay, just for science here, let's try maggots. And then we will wrap this up after this. Alright, I really want to see what's on this float. Can I see? Can I see? It's on bloodworm. It's at the bottom. Come on. Do it again. There we go. Okay, do it again. That was a 6 silver fish we just caught, because that will go in the order and we'll be able to sell the big rough for 6. Come on. Big money, big money. I don't like bloodworm. We should be safe here. Ooh, it's huge. It's a huge perch. See how slow maggots are, though? I'm not sure how well we're going to be able to catch rough on the maggots. All right, we've been sitting here too long. Let's look and see where we are. Why'd they say stop? All right, cafe, rough, by weight. So now we can keep the 139 gram to sell, but that's 32 silver. We're definitely taking that. And perch, interesting. We didn't get the roach. We're short on white bream, that's fine. All right. Let's see how we did. So that's a total of about 60 silver between the cafe order and the rest of our fish. I'm really excited about trying that that roach farm though. How much silver do we have? We've got 75 silver, guys. We're rocking and rolling right now. All right, feeder rod. Another really cheap Sorrento. Fishing spark. They don't have 3.2 line. Are you kidding me? What level are we? 7.5. All right, hold on. We'll see if the leaders are the same here at Winding. Wait. When did they put a field kitchen at Winding? Am I losing my mind? When did that get there? Oh, crap. This sucks. That is some expensive line. Well, let me tell you. So, 2.3 or 3.9. I think we get the 3.9, right? Or 3.5. And it's a little nicer. $30 is really more appropriate anyway. I don't think we have enough for a bite alarm now. Okay. So, we almost have our second. Now, the only reason why we're going to get away with putting line that's that much stronger than our reel is because we're pretty soon going to be able to have a leader on there as soon as we hit level 8. Alright, so we'll have to make a little bit of silver next time to finish putting this all together, but we're very close. Okay, I got to wrap this one up. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time, hopefully for some more roach farm, because that was fun. Till then.